Hello people of YouTube. I decided to do this little world population growth rate since 1980 year by year analysis, and what got me started was a documentary on Japan and their low birth rate. I thought, it'd be cool to do a top 10 nation by nation birth rate, and also a bottom 10 nation by nation birth rate. And along the way, I decided to add some more statistics and stuff. And there are some things that will become surprising. Like, for instance, 1980 is not 2000 modern day times, because the birth rate, as you will see, has dropped significantly. It probably can be argued, yes, the birth rate needs to be dropped, and there's another argument that what the problem is not overpopulation. What the problem will become later on is overconsumption, which is something that has the population is secondary to human consumption. And I do agree, human consumption continues to grow at a rapid pace. But when it comes to population, I don't think our problem is the world being overpopulated. It's going to be stuff like too many people driving cars and stuff like that. But okay, let's start this off. And there's some kind of promising signs. You see Yemen here has 9.0 and Oman has 8.3. Okay, first of all, what does that mean, the 9.0? What that means is, in the given year of 1980, if the average woman had so many kids that year that, given their child year rate, birthing rates, if they were through their life, if they continued to have children at that rate, they would give birth to 9 children. And that's what 9.0 means, is, they would have 9 children given to them if they continue to have a birth rate like they did in 1980. All right, let's get this started. As you can see, in 1980, most of these top 10 countries are third world countries. And when we go to future times, you're going to see it's the same. But let's go on. Here, Yemen's 9.0, Rwanda 8.4, Kenya 7.5. What's their top 10 average? It's 7.91 kids per female, which is an insanely high rate. In 1980, there were 28 countries that were over 7 children, that had over 7 children per woman. 65 had over 6 children per woman. 91 countries had over 5 children per woman. 110 over 4. 129 had over 3. But as you will see as we go on, it starts to go down. As you already see, some of these numbers are starting to look lower. And look at the top 10 average. It's now 7.87. And as you see, some of these countries are starting to lower. And then now you see, you have 29 countries over 7, 66 countries over 6, 89 countries over 5 children per woman, 108 countries have over 4 children per woman, 132 over 3 children per woman. Okay. Then we go to 1992. As you can see, Yemen's saying, forget you, we still want a ton of kids. And the top countries are a little bit but it still goes down. Let's see, what did it? Yeah, it actually went up. This is the only year, this is the only year, 1982 actually goes up, the top 10 average. It went to 7.88. And we go down. Now, though, we'll start to see some lower numbers. Now there's only 27 countries with over 7, 65 countries over 6, 87 over 5, 107 over 4, 135 over 3. Let's go on. And here's the top 10 again. And if there was a tie for 10, I just listed all the countries that were tied. And here's what the top 10 average was. It was 7.84. Now, drastically, as you see, there's only 22 countries over 7. And if you look, 5, 6, 5, and 4, and 3 are also going down. We go to 1984, Yemen saying, forget you. So is Rwanda, so is Niger. Niger is an interesting country. Of all these countries, Niger is the only country that's For some reason, I have no clue why, but Niger is the only country on the planet that seems almost totally unaffected by, the changing world. Every other country gets affected. It actually goes down drastically in birth rates. But for some reason, the country of Niger just keeps on plugging through, having kids over and over and over again. And so you see that 7.8. It's not going to go down that much. It's kind of surprising. I'm like, what? You're just having tons of kids, aren't you? Okay. So, as you can see, now the top 10 average is 7.83. Now we have 20, still same, rates the same for 7. 6 now is only 59. 83 are over 5. 103 is over 4. 128 is over 3. Okay, we go on. As you can see, it's a very slow process. This isn't something that goes immediately, boom, boom, boom. It's a very, very slow process. As now it goes down to 7.8 now kids per female, adult female. And then as you can see, now only 18 countries are having it, where it'd be over 7, and 55 over 6 women, 81 over 5, 100 over 4, and 3, 126 countries. By the way, I should note that there are about 193, 94 countries in the world at this moment. So that's a significant figure, that over half of the countries in the world have, over 4 kids. Okay, that's still not a good figure, but it's going to go down drastically. So here we go. Yemen's down 9.1. Here's another thing. If you think I'm going too fast, just press pause and you can see all the country names and all that good stuff. Now the average has gone down to 7.77. Now, look, only 16 countries have over 7, 52 over 6. And now it starts to get lower. Alright, in 1987, Yemen and Rwanda are now the only countries over 8. Oman, Afghanistan, Burundi, they're all going down. I should also mention this. I got the stats from World Bank. But I felt the way they were presenting the stats was not in a concise manner. I could get all the stats, but you had to go year by year by year by year. And I was like, why not just drop down the years like this, instead of where they'd have 1980 to 1982, then you have to go to another link to get to 1983 to 85, then you have to press another link and do all this stuff. So I decided, why not just organize the good stuff and just show the meaty stuff, and that's what I did. Here we have 1988, and Yemen now is under 9. 1987 would be the last time a country would have over 9 kids per woman. That would be the last time something like that would happen, or they'd have a birth rate like that. As you can see, Yemen's now the only country over 8. Every other country is down. Alright, except for Niger, who's also 7.8. It's pretty high. Okay. And as you see, the average is now down to 7.66. Now only 15 are over 7. As you can see, only 95 countries are over 4. Only 122 over 3. Yet it goes down, and it continues to go down. This is 1989. Now the top 10 average is 7.6. Oh, if you can see that. See? Alright. Now 90 countries are having over 4. Now, that's significant. Now, less than half the countries in the world are having over 4 kids. But still, a significant majority are having over 3 kids. And if you look at 1990, look up, Yemen's starting to go down. Now, if you look at Oman, which was way up there, now Oman's barely in the top 10. It's got 7.2 kids. That's something else to take note of. And as you can see, the top 10 average is 7.53. Okay, as you can see, the countries with over 6 now, only 40 out of 95 have that. And only 67 over 195. And so 3 seems to remains solid, and that Yemen is going down again. I think Yemen, benefited greatly from the Middle East oil boom, and just being neighbors, or I think they might have had oil too, and that's drastically affected their birth rate. That's my theory as why Oman and Yemen went down drastically, because they were just part of the Middle East, and they had the Middle East economy boom. And okay, now Niger still stands firm. Afghanistan is at 7.7, as you see. And the top 10 average is 7.49. Countries over 7, 13. Now countries over 3, that's starting to go down to 116. All right. Now we talk about Yemen. As you can see, Yemen's now 8.3, 1992. Niger 7.8. You have all this. As you can see, Oman's gone, and now you're left with primarily Far East Middle Eastern countries, and looks like African countries. All right. And the top 10 average now is 7.47 kids per female. And now there's only 12 countries with over 7, 34 with over 6, 63 over 5, 85 over 4, and 111 over 3. As you can see, every year the averages are going down. This is not just a 1-year incident. This is not a 3-year incident. This is not a 5-year incident. This is a year by year by year constant decline in birth rates. 1993, Yemen's now barely over 8. And you see all these other countries that are over 7 kids per woman. And the top average now is down to 7.47. And there you see only 11 are over 7. If you look at over 3, over 108 now are over 3. And 93 would prove pivotal again, because that would be the last time a country would have an average of 8 kids per woman. As you can see now, Afghanistan is at 7.8, so is Niger, and Yemen has a share for the lead. And the top 10 average goes down again to 7.42. Now, 102 countries are over 3, 30 countries are over 6, 53 over 5, 77 over 4, 95. You have an average of 7.39. And now, just over 100 countries are over 3. Let's go to 96. I'll pause it there just so that people can pause it and see the numbers. And you see Afghanistan remember, at this time in 96, the Taliban is taking over. And so with Afghanistan, the reason why they are having the birth rate lead right now is because they were extremely repressive to their women, and women had no rights. I mean, basically, once they got married, it was like, okay, you're basically a sex slave and worker for your husband, and that's what you're meant to do, and that's all you're going to do. And so that's why the birth rate for Afghanistan was extremely high at that time. All right, and you see Yemen's going down still again. And now we go again. The top 10 average is 7.36, and like, now only 9 countries are over 7. Again, all these numbers are going down. And now, for the first time, less than 100 countries have over 3 kids per woman. All right, Afghanistan still high because of the Taliban. And now their top 10 average is 7.3 for all 10. Okay. And countries over 7 is 8. Countries over 6 is 25. 5, 45. You see this continues to go down. And here's another breaking watershed moment. There are 95 countries over 3 kids per children. That's now becomes less than half the nations in the world are now having over 3 kids. That's very significant if you think about that. What that means, yes, the population growth rate is starting to decline. It's still growing, but the acceleration is slowing down drastically. Alright. And Afghanistan still 7.9 because of the Taliban and all that good stuff. And their average is now, 7.29 for the decimal wrong on that. Okay. Oh, by the way, this took me about 11, 12 hours to compile all these numbers. This was a freaking huge undertaking. Probably, like I said, this is my largest mathematical undertaking I've ever done, ever. And I think it's my most significant because usually my math undertaking has to do with some kind of sports statistics or something like that. And usually I never delve outside the realm of sports for most of my mathematical number analysis. And so this is the first time I actually decided, let's see what the country growth rates of all countries in the world are. And here we have again. Boom, boom, boom. It's down to 90. Afghanistan, it went down a little bit to 7.8. Niger, as I said, it's like solid. It was like 7.8 in 1980, and it's 7.7 now. It's like it never goes down. I don't understand that. Okay, the top 10 average is 7.26. As you can see, only 7 countries are over 7. Now only 69 are over 4. Afghanistan, again, leads the world, along with Niger, at 7.7. Somalia is pretty high, too. And ACC, it's getting lower, and the average now is 7.22. And now there's only 18 countries that are even over 6. And it's starting to really, really drop. And then you see Niger, Afghanistan. Niger is now the leader of the birth rate thing again. And they will remain so, I think, for the rest of the millennium. And that's down to 7.17. And there's Niger again. Woo! 7.7, yeah. And the top 10 average goes to 7.13. As you can see, the numbers are going down. 6 for over 7, only 17 for over 6, 40 for over 5, 57 for over 4. For over 3, it's only 81 countries now. I know these numbers still seem extremely high, but my whole point is they're descending. They constantly are going down, and you can't really complain about the world growth rate when the country's population, almost every single country except Niger, is going down. All of them. Boom, boom, boom. They're all going down. And so this hysteria of like, oh, the world's growing too fast. The sky is falling. It's not. The world's doing what it's supposed to. It's decreasing in population naturally. And I don't see the great, we need to... No, it's doing what it's supposed to. And eventually we'll get to where we're supposed to. In about probably, the way it's going, about 15, 20 years, we'll reach that moment. Maybe 30 years at max. Okay. Top 10 average is now at 7.06. As you can see, all those numbers are going down. As I said, Niger remains firm at 7.6. And as you see, Timor Leste is a weird country, as you see right here. It's been in the top 10, but weird thing about it was like way outside the top 10. Like, it was having like 4 or 5 children per female. Then all of a sudden it shoots up into the top 10, stays there for a while, and then drops out. I'm not too sure what exactly happened in Timor Leste, but something happened for that. And as you can see, Niger remains the same, but everyone else drops. Now the top 10 average is 6.96. As you can see, only 4 countries are over 7. Remember how many countries were over 7 when we started out in 1980? I mean, if I'm not mistaken, there are more countries over 7 than there are right there over 6. And now, here we go, Niger, Somalia, Mali. Top 10 average is now 6.87. Only 3 are over 7. 75 are over 3. Continues to go down. Here, Niger, 7.6. As you can see, Burkina Faso gets a top 10 spot with 6.2. In 1980, I don't even think it would get a top 50 spot. with a 6.2 births per female. Things are drastically changing. Now, I forgot to tell you, from 2002 onwards, it does begin to, the pace of the average per country goes down drastically. Now it's 6.79. And here we go, 2007. As you can see, the average is now 6.71. There's only 2 countries now over 7. And everything is drastically going down again. As you can see, there's only 33 countries over 5 now, 50 countries over 4, and 73 over 3. Again, if you look at the top 10 average, it's now down to 6.62. And it seems like it's dropping by like close to a tenth every single year now. So there's some dramatic improvement. If that continues to happen, then it's obvious by 20 years that's going to go down to the top 10 average is going to be under 5. Okay, Niger is still 7.6. Like I said, I do not understand why Niger remains solid like this. It just sticks. It's like, screw you, world. We're going to stay the same. Woo! It's remarkable. I have no idea how a country can just remain the same in its birth rate and not change and just go contrary to every other country on the planet. Props for Niger for being the nonconformist country. All right. As you can see, countries over 7 is 2, countries over 6, 11. Now only 71 are over 3. Okay. Now I go to 2009. Top 10 average is 6.54. Countries over 7 is 2. Countries over 6 is 10. Countries over 3 is 69. Now it's over and under 70. And now we're talking about around 200 countries, by the way. So now less than 35% of the countries in the world are having over 3 kids per woman, meaning that 65% of the countries in the world are having less than 3 kids per woman. Okay, so it's turning into normalcy for a lot of countries. And it's not just first world countries. Now second world countries are jumping in the act, and some even third world countries, as you can see. Actually, most third world countries, except Niger, jumps into the act. In 2010, again, Niger remains the same. Everything is dropping. Now only 9 countries have a birth rate of 6 kids per woman. The top 10 average is 6.48. Remember when we began, it was 7.9 something. Now it's down to 6.48. And now only 1 country is over 7. 27 over 5. And now we go, here's the final one. 2011 was the last year they had. And as you can see, only 1 country in the world is over 6. The average now is 6.41. There's only 9 countries over 6. 24 over 5. 46 over 4. 68 over 3. As you can see, yeah, it's just going down, 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 down. Okay. And so that is the good news. Here's the more, what I'm going to deal with is maybe the more controversial. I don't know. I do the bottom 10, and there is a concern. I forgot there is something, when I'm doing the bottom 10, I use a stat called the replacement rate. The replacement rate is 2.1 kids per woman. You need that to remain stationary for your population. 2.1 kids. You say, well, wait, don't you have 2 parents? Yes, but 0.1 people will die in accidents or whatever. And so you have to take that into account. Is that 5% of whatever don't make it to childhood or to adulthood. So that's why the replacement rate is 2.1 kids per woman. Okay. All right. And here in 1980, there already were industrialized countries upon the planet that were not reaching the 2.1 kids per woman replacement rate. They were Germany, Denmark. In 1980, it is far drastic than it is now. Most of the countries in 1980 were Western European countries, for the most part. That doesn't remain the same as we go on. Other countries become industrialized, or they just have a low birth weight for whatever reason. Germany's 1.4. Germany is an interesting thing. As you will see, they're kind of like the Niger of low birth rate people. They remain low year after year after year after year after year after year. As you can see here, do you notice there's no Japan yet in the top 10 lowest countries in the world? And the reason why, and you're like, you'll notice that Japan really isn't that often in the top 10, but why do they care about Japan? Why is it that no one's really talking about Germany, Denmark, Austria? All these countries you see, Finland, Italy especially, remains under the 2.1 birth rate, because this is the reason why. Those countries you see up here have what we would call a liberal immigration policy. And so they may be under a replacement rate, but what they're doing is they're immigrating people from other countries who are making up the difference for the replacement rate. And so Germany, Denmark, and all these countries are still remaining pretty solid on their population figures because they just keep on getting immigrants. There's going to be a problem with this. And here is the problem. As you saw with the highest birth rate, you noticed that less and less countries were having over 3 kids per thing. And less countries are even going above the replacement rate of 2.1 kids per woman. The problem is this: it's not going to hit just yet. But what's going to eventually happen is, what they're doing right now is they're taking people from countries that have a higher replacement rate, that have 3 kids per woman, or 2.5 kids per woman, or 3.5 kids per woman. They're taking from those countries, but those countries are going to go down, and eventually they're going to get to the 2.1 thing, and because they're also losing people from these higher advanced countries. And what's going to happen is those countries are eventually going to have to spread out and get immigrants to fill in for the immigrants that they're losing. And eventually, if the world continues to go down in population growth, eventually you're going to lose the ability to gain immigrants into your country, because the world is industrializing. It's becoming more and more industrialized every day. Even third world countries are becoming more industrialized every day. And eventually their income is catching up. China's income has grown rapidly. Even India's income has grown rapidly. What is going to happen is eventually these people are either the replacement rate's not going to be the same. What's going to happen basically is their income is going to be to the point where they're like, I don't want to go to Germany. I don't want to go to Austria. What's the point? I make enough in India. I make enough in China. I make enough in Indonesia. Why do I need to go to another country to immigrate so I can make, a little extra? I don't want to lose my family and friends over just this little extra bit of money. And eventually immigrants are going to say, forget you. We're not going to this country. And you'll see an interesting thing happen here too. Do you see how these countries, these birth rates actually go down? And then they actually kind of semi-rebound, especially in the Western European countries. And the reason why they're rebounding is because of the immigrants they're having in their country. Usually, because they're immigrants, they're getting the lower paying jobs. They're still getting higher paying jobs than their original country, but they're getting lower paying jobs. And so usually people with lower income, they have more children. And because they're having more children, it's artificially raising the birth rates of these countries just a tad bit. So all these countries will go down, but they do rebound a little bit because of immigration and them allowing immigrants who then have children to bounce up the birth rate thing. But having said that, most of these countries don't go back to the replacement rate. All right, as you can see already, the bottom 10 average here is 1.58. That's not good. And here I decided to make a little stat. The countries over the replacement rate at this time was 156. There are 189 countries in the world in 1989. Or provinces or states. Sorry, not all these, although I call them countries. Probably the more proper term I should have used is states. States over replacement rate, because some of them aren't technically countries. They're territories. So as you can see, it's 156 over and 33 under replacement rate. Right now, whatever. And here I used for countries under 90%, it's actually basically 1.8 is what I said. Anything 1.8 or lower is countries under 90% of replacement rate. For countries under 80%, it's 1.6, because 1.8 is 90% of 2. 1.6 is 80% of 2. And remember, the replacement rate is 2.1. And countries under 70% of replacement rate, well, that was 1.4 or less. Okay, in reality, if you do a calculator thing, 1.8 divided by 2.1 really equals 85.7%. So in reality, it's countries under 86%, countries under 77%, countries under 67, 68%. So they're not really, they actually are lower. This is actually, putting the numbers a little bit on the optimistic side. I noticed also when we're going to go through this, I noticed this number is key, the 70% of replacement rate. It seems like when countries go under this, they seem to take notice, and this is when they start opening up their immigration policies and stuff like that. Also, I forgot to mention, Japan. The reason why Japan matters and why people are like, Japan's low birth rate is because Japan has a stricter immigration policy. They really could solve their problem if they just said, hey, invited more people into their country and say, hey, we like immigrants. We love immigrants. Yay. My guess is eventually Japan's going to crack and say, you know what? We like our culture. We like our society, but we need immigration, and because this is not going to help. And so eventually Japan's going to just turn into like Germany, France, Italy, and even England, or they're going to start just allowing more immigrants in, because they need the replacement. They can't continue not to ignore that. All right. Here we have Denmark at 1.4. Germany again's in the lead. Italy, surprisingly, not many people talk about its low birth rate, but Italy remains in the top 10 for a very long time. Luxembourg, Netherlands, allow 1.7. Now the bottom 10 goes to 1.59. As you can see, though, countries over replacement rate, 156. The countries under the replacement rate, 2.1, 35. Countries under 90%, 18, 7, 2. These numbers will grow as we go along. Denmark now, with Germany, is in the lead with the 1.4. There's still Western European countries. Belgium, Netherlands, Luxembourg, Switzerland. And then you see Canada, 1.7. Yeah. And the bottom 10 average now is 1.57. It's starting to drop. Countries over replacement, 158. Now countries under replacement, 36. The countries under 90%, replacement rate, 17. 80%, 7. 70%, 2. Germany now, again, they're still low at 1.3. That's a concern. They're under the 70% replacement rate. And so that's not a good thing. And Italy is 1.5, Netherlands 1.5, Switzerland again. Singapore pops up, if you noticed, for the first time. It's one of the first Asian countries to say, hey, let me have a crack at this. It won't be the last Asian country. Now the bottom 10 average is 1.5. Countries over replacement, 157. Under replacement, 134. Kind of rebounded a little bit that year. All right. Germany now is 1.3. And you still have all these European countries. But hey, look, Hong Kong has entered the mix. And the bottom 10 average now is 1.49. Countries over replacement, it remains about static, about the same. And you have 23 under 90%, 10 over 80%, 3 under 70%. Ugh. Again, it remains the same, except the Asian countries are starting to go higher up in the top 10 thing. Here's Hong Kong. And the bottom 10 average drops a little bit to 1.47. And there's 155 over replacement 36. As you can see, that's still there's no concern here because these countries under replacement have plenty of countries to choose from to, take their immigrants. So it's really not that much of a deal at this moment. And it's still not that much of this deal in the year 2013, quite honestly. But it will become a bigger deal. Okay. In 1986, we have Italy, Germany, Hong Kong, Luxembourg, they're all 1.4, Singapore 1.4, boom, 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 Denmark, Switzerland, Finland, Greece, Netherlands, North Korea. There's another Asian country. North Korea enters the mix. I guess they followed China's one-kid policy. All right, bottom 10 average is 1.45. Countries over replacement, 154. Countries under replacement, 37. Countries under 90% replacement, 26. That's starting to get higher. 80%, 15. 70% replacement, 5. Okay. Now, as you see, Hong Kong's really stepped it up, and now they have 1.3 kids per child. Italy, Austria, Germany, Luxembourg, they're there. So that's the one thing about Hong Kong. Hong Kong will never have to worry about, I don't see Hong Kong ever having to worry about China saying, hey, they're now under the province of China, but I don't think China's ever going to say, you guys are having too many kids. Obviously, since Hong Kong's having less kids automatically than China is, they probably don't really enforce the one-kid rule as much in Hong Kong. They don't have to. And this was during a time, 1987 was a time when Hong Kong was under British rule. Let's remember that. Okay, as you can see, a lot of Western European countries up. Who enters the mix? Croatia. Yep. And Eastern European countries starts to show up. It won't be the last, folks. More will show. As you can see, the bottom 10 average is now 145. Still, they're over replacements, 159, 36. All right. Now 5 countries are under 70% replacement. I consider this the danger area. You don't want to have too many immigrants. That's not good. All at once. Now you only have that really drastically changes the dynamics in a real quick period. See, Italy, it's 1.3, Austria 1.4, Hong Kong, Germany, Greece. Again, it's still mostly Eastern European countries. This would be Korea. All right. Now we're down to the bottom 10 average of 1.47. Countries over replacement, 156, 26, 14, 4. Now we've got Hong Kong, which is 1.3. Italy's 1.3. It's about the same. As you see, not much has changed. And so the bottom 10 average is 1.44. It's still going down, though. Countries over replacement, 154, 37, 27, 16, 5. Hong Kong now, 1.3. Italy, 1.3. Spain. As you see, things are gradually, it's not a very, very quick thing because the numbers are already low to begin with. But if you notice, gradually they are getting lower year by year by year. And this is not a good thing. You do not want to be too far under the replacement level. This will drastically change your culture and the dynamics of your country if you have a replacement level at this stage. Okay. Austria, Germany is now 1.5. Ah, there's Japan. Woo! I think the first time they actually make it into the top 10 in 1990. So, there's Japan. The one with the very anti-immigration policy and why they're having problems. Bottom 10 average now is 1.43. The countries over replacement is 155. Now, if you notice, it's starting to grow. It's 39. 28, 15, 5 under there. Okay. 1991, Germany is still in the lead with Hong Kong, Italy, Spain, 1.3. Greece, all these countries, Germany, Italy, Spain. I didn't even think Hong Kong. Oh yeah, there's something to be said about Hong Kong, and there's another Chinese province that will show up. They will get to low levels that are insanely low. I mean, like, how can a country survive with that? Well, the good thing with them is, obviously, they have an open border policy with China, and so anytime they lose people, they always have a country of over 1.3 billion people to choose from to restock and replenish their society. And so it's not really as big as an issue because China already has a ton of people to, and Hong Kong's not as nearly as big. And so that's why Hong Kong, you'll never hear about Hong Kong, even though it is extremely low birth rate. And here now the birth rate again is 1.39. That's under 70% replacement level. That's not good. And so countries over replacement, 154. Under replacement, 40. Under 90%, 34. 17 for 80. Some of that. All right. And now you start to see it's starting to really kind of take shape. Now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 countries, 1.3 births per woman. That's not good. And then you see Slovenia, another Eastern European country, enters the mix. Bulgaria, another Eastern European country. Croatia, of course. And Macao, China, is the other province of China that has a low birth rate. But then again, it doesn't really matter that much. They were owned by Portugal at one time, controlled by Portugal at one time, and so China basically took over. It has a ton of people to supply them with, so that's not really a big issue. And here the bottom 10 average is 1.39. Countries above replacement 152, under replacement 44. Now if you notice, it's starting to switch. The tide's starting to switch a little bit. Under 90%, 34. Under 80, 18. Under 76. And here it is: Germany, Greece, Hong Kong, Italy, Slovenia, Spain, Macau, China. As you can see, the Chinese cities or provinces are pretty low. Romania, another Eastern European country. Russia, again, as you can see, the Eastern European countries are starting to enter the mix. Oops, almost messed that up. Sorry about that. All right. And then we have Switzerland in the bottom 10. It's 1.35. Countries over replacement, 146, 47, and so on and so forth. Now we have Germany at 1994. It's 1.2. Italy, 1.2. Spain, 1.2. Macau, China, 1.3. The numbers continue to go down. All right. Dim average goes to 1.32. Again, look at the replacement level. It's 142. And under replacement continues to grow, and this continues to shrink. Right now, it doesn't matter because it's still, there's a vast majority of over replacement. Countries under 90% of replacement rate, 40, 26 under 80, 15 under 70, and now there's people under 60%. That's not good. Those are Bulgaria, Italy, which, again, has a high immigration rate. I'm not too sure about, this is Estonia, not Estonia. Estonia. The thing with the Eastern European countries is I'm not too sure their immigration is too high. And so I'm not too sure what's going to happen with the Eastern European countries. Is there a ton of immigrants replacing their population? I'm not too sure. I didn't really follow up on that. I'm not too sure their economies are so as great as Western Europe, and so that may become a problem for Eastern Europe. And Eastern Europe may have the same problems as Japan, even though Japan's talked about way more often. There's Russia with the 1.3, Slovenia 1.3, yeah. So Russia had a low birth rate and a bad economy. So, that's a duality that's not very good, because eventually that's going to catch up to you. The bottom 10 average now is 1.26. Countries over replacement 142, under replacement 54. 45 under 90%, 29 under 8, 18 under 70, 4 under 60. 1996, we have Bulgaria, we have Czech Republic, Hong Kong. Now if you notice, it's drastically changed, the top 10. Instead of Western European countries, now we have mostly Eastern European countries and Asian countries, sprinkled with a Western European country here and there. You can see Romania, Russia, Slovenia, Ukraine. These are all Eastern European countries. This is not what it was like in 1980, when it was particularly dominated by almost all Western European countries. The bottom 10 average continues to drop, though. It's now 1.23. Now there's only 138 countries over replacement. 55 are under replacement. Now it's starting to become more of a significant factor. Countries under 90% of replacement, 45, 80% 30, 70% 80, 60% 7 now. Okay? Again, here we go. 97, Bulgaria, Hong Kong, Latvia, okay, China, Belarus, Czech Republic, Estonia, Italy for some reason, Spain, and Western European countries also are there. What happens, though, eventually is the Western European countries start to pick up. Like I said, they are going to start to rebound. And they rebound and they get out of the top 10 of the lowest thing, and it's because of immigration. They immigrate from countries that have higher birth rates. Bottom 10 average now is only 1.16. Countries over replacement rate, 135. Countries under replacement, 62. 48 are under 90%, 33, 80, 19, 70, over 10, 60%. Yowzers. It does get better for, like I said, countries under 70 and 60 seem to rebound a little bit, because I think countries realize you're going to have a huge immigration thing. Hong Kong 1.0, Bulgaria 1.1, Latvia. I think the Eastern European countries, why they remain low is because they don't have the immigrants coming in to replace their population. And so the immigrants, there are no immigrants having more babies than them. And so we have a problem there. Czech Republic, Italy, Russia, Slovenia, Spain, Ukraine. Bottom 10 is now, again, 1.15. It stays around there. It doesn't really get much lower than that, which is good, I guess. Countries over replacement, 133. Countries under replacement, 61. Countries under 90% of replacement rate, 50. Under 80% of replacement rate, 33. It's starting to get big, all these numbers. Even one under 50% replacement rate. Yeah. As you see, the two provinces of China are now they seem to be adhering to the one kid per family rule. One kid per woman. There you go. China, I see, should have no problems with these two provinces. They probably don't even crack down on having births there. My guess is I wonder if they have like a wink and a nod to say, I wonder if they subtly are now trying to encourage Hong Kong and Macau to have more kids. Like, hey, yeah, ignore that one-child policy. You guys are actually following it too much, and you guys are going to destroy your society doing that. You can't do that. So, we have Czech Republic, Bulgaria, Greece, Italy, Latvia. Again, all Eastern European countries except for Spain. Woo! All right. And the bottom 10 averages again remains at 1.15. Countries over replacement 135, under 60, 51, boom, boom. All right, in 2000, Macao is 0.9, like I said. Hong Kong 1.0, Czech Republic 1.1, Latvia, Russia, Spain, Belarus, Bulgaria, Greece, Hungary, Italy, boom, boom. All right, the bottom 10 average is 1.16. All right, now it says countries over replacement 134. As you can see, under replacement continues to grow. It's now 63. That's not good. Now Hong Kong, Macau, China. This is probably the low point of the birth rate. I'd say about 2001, 2002, 3, 4. That's the low point. After that, it starts picking up. You'll see. And you see Macau, and one of the main reasons is because Hong Kong and Macau have 0.9, which is ridiculously, insanely low. That's less than 45% of replacement rate. That's not, even though they are attached to China, that probably China is saying you need to have more kids. You can't continue, it's not good to have this many immigrants, even if they all are Chinese. Okay. Czech Republic 1.1, Ukraine, Bulgaria, Latvia, Slovak Republic. Again, all Eastern European countries for the most part, with the Western country. And there's Japan, 1.3. There again, like I said, Japan is not. People think of Japan as this country that has the lowest birth rate in the world. That's not true. There's lots of countries that have birth rates as low as Japan. And even some Western European countries, but the thing with them is they have the immigrants coming in to make up for the replacements. Japan, on the other hand, is still, I think, at least seen as an anti-immigration country. Maybe they're changing. I wouldn't be surprised if they're changing. North Korea, obviously, is anti-immigration. Now, North Korea is a different story. Actually, they're probably one of the few countries I'm like, yay, their birth rate's lower. Yeah, less people. That means, less saber rattling because there's, less people. A smaller army to threaten South Korea with. South Korea, by the way, has a 2.0 average, so they basically have a replacement rate. And they probably have immigrants as well. While North Korea, I don't think, I'd be surprised if they have, 100 immigrants in the country in a year, and I might be being generous with that estimate. Okay, Lithuania, Poland, Romania, Russia. Bottom 10 average is 1.13. Countries over replacement, under replacement. As you can see now, this rate is starting to look a little more, now it's less than 2 to 1. If you've noticed this, it's less than 2 to 1. That is significant. All right, under 90% is 54, 39, 26, 9, 50. And here we go. Hong Kong remains low, and we have all these European countries. North Korea. There you go. Slovenia. The bottom 10 average is 1.13. One thing about North Korea, though, is I don't know if they should be that worried. The reason why they say is because North Korea is so much of a dictatorship. I could imagine the premier leader going on TV and they're having advertisement campaigns of have more sex. Yeah. You need to make more babies. More babies. Good. And I could see them, through a huge propaganda campaign, increasing that 1.2 average to 2 over 2. I could see that. They have the dictatorship. They have the control of the media to the point where they could easily have a propaganda campaign that says you need to have more kids. So, I wouldn't be surprised if eventually, a light goes on with one of these North Koreans and that's higher up in power and says, maybe we should have more kids. One that's not afraid of getting shot in the head for going against the country's policy in any way, shape, or form. Okay. Bottom 10 average is 1.13. Countries over replacement, 127. As you can see, under replacement. You see this number is not that much different now. 55 country difference, okay? It's starting to look more reasonable. under 90% replacement rate, 56, 40, boom, boom. Now Macau, China is 0.8, Hong Kong, Belarus, Bosnia, Bulgaria, Czech Republic, North Korea, blah, blah. All right, sound of 1.13, as I said, it remains about stationary. It's not going down, which is good. It's good, actually. You think that, these countries, I don't care if they're super liberal, they realize, there's a point where you need to at least have a certain amount of kids. I don't care how liberal you are about how the Earth population needs to go down, not up. I think even the most extreme liberal can understand that, 70%, 60% of your replacement rate is not a good thing. Eventually, that will lead to catastrophe. It may take, a couple hundred years, but it's going to happen. That's not good. Okay. Countries above replacement, 125, under 72, under 90, 54. And these numbers are starting to remain stationary too. Here, Macau, China, 0.8, Hong Kong, 0.9, Belarus. Again, all these countries are Eastern European or they're Asian. There's not a single Western European country on the list. The bottom average goes to 1.13. Countries above replacement, 127, under 69. 2005, well, I may actually go back so people can see that. All right. Okay, China is now 0.8, Hong Kong, Czech Republic, Greece, Germany, Italy, Japan. Now you start seeing some Western European countries as they stay firm at 1.3. Like I said, they don't mind being a little bit lower though, because like I said, they have immigration, and they welcome immigrants with open arms. Greece is a problem though, because if you know, they are on the verge of bankruptcy, and so I'm guessing not as many immigrants want to hit up Greece. Okay, Germany again is not a problem, but my guess is for next few years, Greece is going to have a problem saying, "Hey, go to Greece." Not many people after what they're seeing on the news are like, "Yeah, I want to go to Greece to get rich." Not with their high unemployment rate. That's not going to happen. Hungary, Italy, Japan, again, is on the 1.3 thing. Like I said, though, their immigration policy is low. But that's self-enforced. If they wanted to, they could have a very liberal immigration policy, and you wouldn't have this problem. Lithuania, Romania, Russia, Singapore, Slovak Republic, Spain. It's bottom 10 average, 1.16. Replacement, 129, 69. That's remaining solid. 90%, say, boom, boom, boom. Okay. Now Macau, China, Hong Kong. Like I said, the reason why these two countries really don't care as much is because they have China, who can give them tons of immigrants to replace them, because they are a province of China. North Korea is a problem. It's not B1.1. It's bad for them, and eventually they're going to realize this is not good. Okay. Honduras 1.2, Bosnia, boom, 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 Ukraine. All right. Bottom 10 average. As you see now, the country is under replacement, 73. Now it's starting to go up again. That's what, 36.5% of the countries in the world are under replacement, while 3.5 or above. Is that right? All right, maybe not. Ooh, there's the under 55, or under 90, 38 are under 80, 30 are under 70, 660, 250. Here's 2007. Looks about the same as before, but now as you see, there's some 1.3s. Countries are saying, hey, we can't be too low. This 1.1, 1.2 business, that's just too low. We've got to rebound. We've got to do something. And so my guess is they started probably, giving tax breaks, more tax credits, more incentives to those who have children. My guess is Japan probably has huge incentives for people that have children. Okay, bottom of 10 average. It's now 1.21. It actually bounced up for once. Though, as you see, the countries under replacement continues to grow. The only thing that stopped happening was countries under 70%, or 60% actually. That's what stopped. But here you have 75. Here you go 2008. Okay, China is 0.9. Hong Kong, Bosnia, North Korea. Again, North Korea is going to have a problem there. Singapore, Singapore welcomes immigrants left and right. They're cool with that. Germany is an open immigration country. They even announced that a few years ago, just to get more people to come. All right, and there's Liechtenstein, Romania, Serbia, Ukraine. Bottom 10 average. Liechtenstein is such a small country, though, that they don't really have that much of a problem because they're well off, number one. And number two, yeah, they're so small that it's easier for them to advertise to get people to come to their country and not have much of a problem. Countries above replacement, 127. Under replacement, 73. Boom. This remains stationary. Same thing. As you can see, even Macao is starting to say, hey, maybe in Hong Kong, both are saying, hey, maybe there's something wrong here. We need to add more kids. They're starting to pop up more. And as you can see, it's all Eastern European countries, for the most part. Portugal, well, there's a couple that are Western. Germany still stands firm at 1.4. Italy, Japan,